Hello, time for some knife science in the knife lab. That's right, this is definitely science. 100%. This is going to form part of my thesis to get into knife university. I'm just kidding, this isn't science. This is just me doing some home experiments. What I'm checking today, however, is Z-Finit and Vanax. I want to see how rust resistant they are, and I've got some other control knives here to sort that out. So what I've got here are 5 knives, including my 2 controls, 5 glasses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put each knife nose down into a glass, and I'm going to make a salty solution, a very salty solution, to force oxidization and therefore rust of these steels. Patinas, whatever. We're going to fill it up to the same point on each glass. So we should get a nice neat line of corrosion on each knife, if any corrosion happens at all. So let's talk about, apart from Z-Finit and Vanax, what we're looking at. I've got AUS 8, which is a pretty common stainless steel of yesteryear. And then I've got 80 CRV2, which is a carbon steel. I didn't have anything in 1095 that I was willing to rust up. My only 1095 or other sort of carbon steel knives, my more a bushcraft black at the moment. And I just put that nice mirror edge on it. I wasn't going to muck around with that. And then lastly is a steel called M390. And M390 is reminding me, well, Vanax is reminding me more and more of M390 the longer I use it, in terms of edge retention, easiness to sharpen, and toughness and whatnot. So I'm going to check M390's rust resistance as well. So I need to make my solution. I'm going to make a big jug of it and then apply it into each cup, so it's about the same, as concentrated as I can get and as even as I can get it. Let's do it. Alrighty, so for my salty solution, I'll just be using as my primary source the comments on my Knife Company's ranked best to worst video. Both of them, there's a real lot of salt in those comments, so it should make for a really strong solution. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be using rock salt and this and boiling water and forcing it to dissolve. So I'm going to use a whole bunch of rock salt. I'm not even going for ocean level salty. I'm going for like intense level of saltiness. I'm going for YouTube comment saltiness. I'm not sure if I'm going to get there with only this amount of salt. Yeah, it tastes about right. Yeah, fuck it. Alrighty, hot salt water. Let's do it. Yeah, it's pretty even. Maybe just a little bit more on this one. There we go. Cool, so no extra granules went into any of them as far as I can see. So any of the salt that accumulates should be about the same, because it should be an evenly diluted salt water solution. Cool, so now we wait. I'll leave these overnight and see how they look in the morning. Cool, so we're going to leave those there overnight. And I'm going to see how they are at about 6 AM in the morning before I go to work. Probably encrusted in salt is going to be how they are at first. Alright, so it's been 24 hours since I set up all of these knives. Let's take a nice old close look and see how they have corroded. Now, let me not understate how salty this water was. You saw how much salt I put in it. And the results have at least surprised me a fair bit. Righto, so remember, from left to right, AUS8, Vanax, LC200N, M390, and ADCRV2, wearing a massive L for the team. Good job. Let's look at them a bit closer in these waters. So I brought all my glasses outside because my family got home and it's a little bit protracted. So, judging from the colours, I'm going to say that the ones that have leaked the most of any material, I'm going to put them in order. So, let's have a look. Really interesting here in terms of just seepage into the water. I'm going to say that. What do you reckon? I reckon the Vanax is obviously the winner. That's just crazy. The M390 has actually stained the water a little less than the LC200N, which is really interesting to me. And then AUS8, a healthy, you know, and it's got artifacts in there as well. And then this is just properly got orange floaters in it. The ADCRV2, which it's a carbon steel, folks, so of course that's going to happen. It's not a slide against the steel, it's just is what it is. I'll just show you some close-ups and then I'll take the knives out. Let's get an initial damage report. This is the ADCRV2 steel. It's gone completely black from the exact point of submersion down, which is really interesting. It's not like an orange rust, which was what I was expecting. So it's actually a black effect there, which is very interesting. The edge is still it's wet, but seems like it's still fairly sharp as well. Not too bad. So yeah, that's what's happened there. So it's just gone black. Very strange. Now the AUS8, pull that one out. So the AUS8 has got some actual orange rust on it with a general darkening of the steel. So just up close you see there's some, just where the water was probably lapping up at it, the rust has climbed a little bit, just on that scandy edge. Just some orange spotting, definite signs of actual rust right there. The Z-Finite, aka LC200N, well, to my eyes, the steel actually looks pretty much flawless, except for a couple of little marks along the spine. Now, what I am thinking though here, because that's actually fairly clean, it did leak a bit of colour into the water, but I KME'd these with the KME, and that may just be some steel powder transfer. We'll see how easily it wipes off. Yeah, pretty easily. It may just be some artifacts from other sort of powders of steels, but I'll put that one down and we'll bring out the M390 next. Now the M390 leaked heavily from the laser etching of the brands, but the rest of the steel has actually worked pretty well. So there's some spotting along there, so it actually has, I would say, in terms of long-term damage, it's probably actually more damage than the LC200N. Because this has actually got some, fair rust dots in it now. And of course, I'll take some detailed photos of all these now, and then I'm going to rub them with a paper towel and see what's left, see what's easily reversible. So that's the M390 there. And then lastly is Vanax. So I don't know about you, but that doesn't really look like it's been sitting in a vat of salt water. Again, it's got a slight orange here, but again, that's in such a singular place that it may just be from the grip, but you never know. It may also be some leak from the laser that might really rough the surface area of the steel up in those areas. I'll take some still photos and then I'll see if it just wipes off, and if it does, then that's pretty darn good. But really, no real discernible damage to the edge from it. The edge is actually still really sharp and mirror polished. Yep, definitely still pretty nice in terms of edge. So yeah, let's take some detailed photos and I'll show you them right now. So yeah, various states of decay, and frankly, that water was ridiculously salty. I'm surprised even that the M390 and the AOS8 and the 80 CRV2 aren't way worse. But yeah, so what I'm going to do now is just going to wipe off what I can just with a dry paper towel. So no WD-40, no solution, anything like that, and just see how good I can get them. Just a few wipes with a dry towel, getting mainly salt residue off, but so the difference is immediate with the M390. Just by wiping it a few times, it's almost back to perfect. So you can see that there. Remember all that orange rust that was oozing out? Yeah, I think just the laser etching really is a bit of a weak spot, but apart from that, pretty good. Let's do the OS8, see what that can shine up to. Few wipes with a paper towel, and yeah, that's still got some markings on it, but yeah, you'd say it needs a bit of a probably WD-40 and a polishing job or something like that to get it sorted again. Not too bad at all. 80 CRV2, which is very interestingly gone black and a little bit rougher on that surface, but yeah, I mean that's not wiping off, that's the steel was properly stained and degraded or whatever you'd call it, just some black surface rust maybe, I don't know what that is, but there you go, definitely oxidization. And then the LC200N, which is one I was most interested in. Looks pretty much perfect again, so that did seem to be just a bit of, yeah, that just scratches off the stuff on the spine, so that may well have just been transfer from the workshop, but the overall steel is pretty much, I think there's a slight discoloration, maybe slight, but really nothing that I can say, whoa, that knife, what happened to that? Alrighty, now I'm just going to give him a touch up with some WD-40, a bit of a wipe down properly as if you've gone, oh shit, my knife's gone rusty, and just see how good I can get them from now. Let that soak for a little while, and then I'll come back with a sponge and give them a bit of a touch up and see how they look. Then at the end I'll probably just scale them from the least to the most rust resistant. Alrighty, so talking about overall, I think the most overall rust-resistant steel was the Vanax. It leaked the least into its glass, and also any of the marks that are on it were really superficial and wiped off without too much trouble. A little bit of WD-40 budged, some stuff that I feel was probably just a remnant from the KME clamp, which was sitting about where the KME clamp was sitting. So that is a pretty much pristine knife. Even the surface finish of the blade hasn't changed at all. Look, the next one, it was difficult between Z-Finit and M390, to be honest. The M390 did way better than I thought it would. It was initially much more dramatically rusty, though, out of the knife, but the water was a little bit cleaner. However, after I've looked at both, the M390 does have some tiny little dots on it that are visible from when you look up really close against the light, whereas the Z-Finit has maybe gone up a shade of cloud, but really not much at all in terms of actual rust spots. So there is that. I'd say these are about even, which has surprised me a fair bit. But yeah, this is really no slouch, this M390. But yeah, really much of a muchness. They sort of altered in different ways. This seemed to bleed more in a general sense into the water, as in the water's a slight shade darker, but this one actually wept quite considerably out of the exposed area, whereas this one didn't, like out of the lasered or engraved areas, whereas this one didn't. So I'd put them at about even, to be honest, which is really surprising. And then the AUSA and the ADCR V2 really sort of did different ways of corrosion. So this just went kind of black. Just black oxidization, whereas this did form some pretty reasonable orange rust spots, which still persist even after a decent rub down with WD-40. So I'd say the AUSA is probably still the more overall less likely to tarnish in general. However, you definitely still need to care for it a bit, and you obviously definitely need to care for your ADCR V2 because apart from a dash of chromium, it's basically a carbon steel. So there you go, guys. Hope you found this interesting. This Vanax is just completely amazing stuff, but also the M390 really impressed me as well with how much, whilst looking a bit dramatic at first, how much it cleaned itself up with pretty minimal effort. So there we go. Hope you've enjoyed, guys. Stay tuned for the next episode, which will be taking these edges to the max. Goodbye.